he has the virus. Well, there's nothing in his contract that would take that away. But the players might argue, well, it's in our contract, but it's not in the coach's contract. So now, like, do you have to go back and look at the CBA and add some type of provision or stipulation after the thought? Or does all this just still up in the air? Because they can't do nothing.
I really have no idea what you're talking about, honestly. You're talking about assistant coaches, and you're talking about players getting it, and then you're talking about, like, provisions between that. Like, I don't even know if coaches are even under the CBA because
they're not, but that wouldn't that be an argument the players would make?
CBA, because the Players Association, I mean, the CBA is an agreement between the Players Association and the owners. The coaches are employees of the owners. So whatever sort of employment rights they have, I'm sure falls under its own sort of franchise in accordance to the NFL.
Yeah, my point is pretty much like this is going to change the way even they do contracts. Because if players can get it, coaches can get it. They're all around each other. So now it might just be one whole new uniform type of contract that people have to sign just to play.
But the stipulation isn't about getting the virus. The stipulation is that there's no physical.
Yeah,
there's no physical. There's no physical to make the deal official. So they're saying this deal is based on you passing a physical. If you don't pass the physical, then the deal's not official. That's what it is.
Which kind of messes up the whole NFL draft because you sign this money to guys and then poof, it's gone in the air, and then now your whole strategy changes.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I think it's going to matter more for the people who have pro days these past 2 or 3 weeks, and they couldn't get their medicals done or cleared by NFL people. But, I mean, the combine was business as usual for the most part. So, assuming a prospect went there and got medicals and physical done, like, everything should be golden. Like, it shouldn't impact the draft. It is going to impact, getting players developed and implemented into teams, but overall, like, shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be any more disruptive to the draft than it is overall, just to sports in general.
Yeah, but with all that in mind, man, just from the latest free agency signings or officially unofficial signings, which one stood out to you the most?
Like, in terms of good or in terms of bad?
Just shock value. What stood out to you the most?
I think Byron Jones going to the Dolphins. I think for like $18 million something, a guy who didn't have a pick last year. And I know, like, as a Raider fan, we love to excuse that with like a whole Nami Asamoah defense. But all 0-pick years uncreated equally, and
that might be this episode title.
On 50%. So, yeah, I didn't like giving him all that money. I think overall the linebackers really broke the bank. What's his name? I can't say his name for the Raiders. Got like $7 million basically off of
something
Kiakowski.
I don't know. He played at West Virginia. I can't say his last name either.
Yeah, and then Littleton got $12 million. Who else am I forgetting?
The Raiders signed Eli Apple, which was kind of gross, but whatever.
And then one of the other big ones that I really didn't like was Teddy Bridgewater going to Carolina. Like,
that confused me too. I'm happy that he broke bank.
I guess he has connections to the offensive coordinator there or something like that, who was with the Saints before.
Joe Brady.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But, to go from the Saints, which is at this point, pretty much, one of the classes of the NFL, to go to Carolina, which is pretty much in full rebuild mode, and, totally tearing down the roster, like, that whole swap just really didn't make sense to me. And then, some of the offensive linemen who got a lot of money, like that tackle from formerly of the Eagles who got like Big V, they call him, like $10 million a year or something like that. He only started like half the season. The Detroit offensive lineman,
Graham
got a big
Glasgow,
contract, like
with Denver. Graham Glasgow signed with Denver for big money.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was like, there was a lot of things that really just kind of were like, really? Type of situations. But, I also think it's kind of crazy how Jameis can't find a job and Cam can't find a job. Like, Jacksonville is really going to stick with Gardner, and the Chargers are really going to stick with Tyrod Taylor, or they just didn't want to give up a pick for Cam. Like, that's really the question that I am asking.
I mean, that's a fair point. I think Carolina did them dirty when they came out and said, we give them permission to seek a trade. Like, but that is a dope way to break up with somebody. I give you permission to see other people. Like, wait, I didn't ask for permission to see other people. Like, you wanted to break up. Like, so that was cold. They did him dirty, and he came out and corrected it. But at this point, they should just cut him and let him be a free agent. But I think they still want something for him, which is kind of janky. Because, I mean, you signed Bridgewater, it was like a $60 million deal, something like that. It was pretty high up there. You keep Kyle Allen, so it would be stupid for you to draft a quarterback when you have holes everywhere else on your defense. And I feel like Isaiah Simmons could easily fall to them in the draft at 7. The Panthers historically always draft really great linebackers, especially top 10. Like, it always happens. It never fails. So I wouldn't put that past them. They always hit on the right defensive players usually. But I think the Baltimore Ravens...
Thing is, as soon as they signed Teddy Bridgewater, whatever trade value Cam had, which, the $20 million contract, and the fact that he's already coming off injuries, certainly didn't already help his value. But that, plus the fact that the Panthers signed essentially his replacement, that took away all bargaining off the table. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Raiders have been so delayed in finding out and reporting exactly what Marcus Mariota's money is, because we don't know if he's set up to be the Bears guy that replaces Carr alongside a rookie, or if it's going to be Mariota versus Carr all out, full on for the starting position of the Las Vegas Raiders.
I mean, if it was me, I would just trade Derek Carr and like a 3rd-round pick to the Texans for Deshaun Watson, because clearly it don't take much to just get the best players off the team.
Do that.
But I mean, if you trade DeAndre Hopkins and a bowl of peanut butter for an injured David Johnson and a 4th-round pick of equal value, I mean, how stupid are you as a GM, and how bad are you? Like, I have a bridge in London that it's prime real estate I could sell you right now if you honestly were making a trade that dumb, or if it was based off emotion. We're going to get into that situation with Bill O'Brien, but I would just say the Chargers and the Ravens, you could say the Dolphins, with what they've done. I still think Miami would be a great place for Cam Newton to kind of rehab his career. Miami or the Chargers. Or New England, surprisingly. And New England, Belichick is a master of giving up picks and making things work. So I think if Cam Newton ended up in New England, that would be a really interesting offense.
I actually wouldn't mind that either, just because, like, if anybody's going to be able to salvage Cam, it's going to be Belichick, right? Like, that's going to be, like, if Belichick can make that work, and, I mean, he made a mobile system quarterback work with Hoyer and
Matt Castle.
And Brissett. And they're only half that size and arm strength and athleticism as Cam.
Brissett ran a 4.9.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they're not even really the same athlete as Cam. So if Belichick can do something with that, he for sure can do something with Cam. And Cam on the other side, like, if anybody's going to really save his career at this point, it's got to be the guy that a lot of people consider the greatest coach ever, right?
And you would want a top-notch defense and young offensive talent around you. I just think once his foot heals, like, it's anyone who's ever had a foot injury knows you're not really yourself until your foot is healed. You're just a shell of yourself, and everyone can see it. And some people might think you're not going hard or you're not working hard enough, but it's like, bro, until your foot stops working, you don't really know what life is like. When your foot's just busted and you're like, I'm doing everything I'm trying to do, my foot don't work. And rehabbing is a bitch. I feel bad for him. I saw some of his workouts. I remember when I was rehabbing my foot in high school. That shit is not fun. Don't break your foot. And also don't teach your kids to be running backs. Because, man, are they getting screwed too. But I think Miami would probably be the best spot for Cam. If not New England.
One thing that I didn't mention that I wanted to mention is I almost said Tennessee. Both of them.
I'm still mad about
Tennessee and Detroit really need to stop trying to fucking clout chase New England because
it's gross.
The Titans got lucky to get as far as they got, frankly. Everything just kind of laid out for them. But, yeah, like, I'm tired of seeing these guys try to be New England. Like, just be yourself, man. Be yourself.
I mean,
and as far as the running back point you made, listen, we knew it was going to happen to Melvin Gordon. Some people thought Melvin Gordon was going to make $10 million a year, and
he probably won't get
some
7.
people were probably his agent because, I don't know who else was going to give Melvin Gordon that much money because $10 million backs, as you can see, one just got traded, the other one just got cut, Gurley and David Johnson, and Freeman. I forgot about him. He also got cut. So it's like,
and Henry,
one, that's already a devalued position. Two, just overall in general, like nobody was making a case for Melvin Gordon as a top 10 back. And you could say that he was really valuable to that team, but he also fumbled on the 2-yard line versus the Texans, which set them up to have their run, and also simultaneously deflated the whole entire Chargers offense and season. Like, they never really recovered from that loss, and so as you know, good as Melvin Gordon is or has been, especially in the red zone, I don't think anybody really thought he was going to be a $10 million back, and this is just kind of sort of a reality check for him.
Can I just
Gurley? I mean, Gurley's in the right spot. You know, he got his guaranteed cash. He's probably got 1 or 2 years left in his prime. So hopefully he can go somewhere where he can be, 70% of the snaps versus, 80 with the Rams and make an impact that way and maybe prolong his career a year or two. I mean, we saw him do it to Steven Jackson. Like, did y'all really think Todd Gurley was an entire Ram? Because it was definitely not setting up to play out that way because Steven Jackson did a lot more in terms of, like, owning being a Ram and, like, that whole thing.
But Todd Gurley was a Ram when they sucked. Todd Gurley was a Ram when they sucked. But he was the selling point on getting out. He was the selling point on getting to Los Angeles. He was the selling point, not Goff.
He was, but the selling point came more when he came to L.A. versus, like, for a little bit, like, Steven Jackson really kept the Rams on the map. He kept them relevant. Like, people were only checking for the Rams for Steven Jackson.
Yeah, it sucks. But, I mean, just to break down this list of people who got franchise tagged real quick, because there's about 3 tiers of free agency. The franchise tag players, unrestricted free agents, then people who get traded, cap casualties, and unfortunately Gurley was one of those casualties, and a lot of other running backs. But for who got franchised, Broncos safety Justin Simmons, Buccaneers edge rusher Shaquille Barrett, New England Patriots guard Joe Thuney, Washington Redskins guard Brandon Scherff, Dak Prescott got the exclusive franchise tag, which means you got to give up 2 firsts for him. He gets paid like $31 million